Now we have the peace proclamation by Simran Kaur Khalsa and Reverend Doris Davis.
I have the privilege to be able to talk about the proclamation that you have, this peace proclamation that you all have in your hand. As you may all know, Jahan Stanizai was a very strong advocate for peace and non-violence, and there were no ifs or buts about this. Jahan was always challenged, he was always challenging us with the fundamental question, is humanity ready for peace? Are we ready for peace? We can either choose to be a peace talker or be a peace walker. And Jahan acted as a peace walker. She walked her talk. And as the president of the Culver City Area Interfaith Alliance, the subject of peace, as well as respect, nonviolence, service, and women's rights was always on the table for discussion at the interfaith meetings. In January of 2010, several members of the Culver City Area Interfaith Alliance came back from the Parliament of the World Religions in Melbourne, Australia. And they came back with a lot of enthusiasm towards finding ways to make an impact in this world. That is when the inspiration of writing a peace proclamation began. And for 6 months, we worked together, several members of the Alliance, and we worked together to write this peace proclamation. And the peace proclamation became the Peace Walkers' urgent call for global action and personal pledge. The Culver City Area Interfaith Alliance is happy to present this today to you. And this pledge was signed on July 4th, 2010 by several members of the Alliance on the steps of the Culver City Hall, something that Jahan organized really beautifully. I unfortunately wasn't there. I wish I could have been there. I don't know how many people here are here who helped write this. If you are here, please, if you would stand up, those who helped write this pledge. Thomas in the back, Stephen Fisk, Doris, myself, and many, many others. Jahan, of course. I would now like to introduce you to Reverend Doris, one of the former presidents of the Culver City Interfaith Alliance. Doris went the extra mile with this peace pledge. She actually went many, many more miles. She and her daughter walked across the United States and handed this peace pledge to all the people they encountered on their journey. I will let her now share a little more about this pledge and the choice of committing oneself to living a life of peace. Doris Davis, former president of the Culver City Interfaith Alliance.
A truth seeker and a man of wisdom sat by a body of water. When will there be peace on earth? The truth seeker asked. The man of wisdom grabbed the man and dunked his head under the water. And he held it there for a long, long time. And finally, he allowed his head to come up. And he said, there will be peace on earth when we want it as bad as you wanted that next breath. How many of you know who in our history or American history Johnny Appleseed was? Some of those who are not Americans might not know that this was a gentleman who walked across America with a bag full of apple seeds, and he cast them across the land. This is a true story. And those apple trees are still producing fruit. How many apples, how many seeds are in an apple? There are 5 chambers, and there may be 5 seeds, or 3 or 8, depending on the health of the fruit, the tree. But I say to you, no one knows how many apples are in a seed. this peace proclamation was seeded across this land. You hold it in your hand. And this part of the program is for you, because there will be no peace on earth until each one of us makes a commitment to peace, to practice peace. So we're going to have a reading of the proclamation, and we'd like you, please, if you will, to read it as we read it with us. And this is your opportunity. If you agree with the statements on this proclamation, we do want you to sign it. And that will be your pledge to yourself, to your higher power, to yourself. But if you will also want to go public with us, you will fill out the green sheet and leave it with us or mail it in. And I don't want you to do this precipitately or just because there's a bunch of us doing it here today. I want you to think about it, because your word is your bond. It's the most sacred thing you have. If you sign this pledge, you make this vow, this will change your life. It has changed mine. Jahan, when we stood on the steps on July 4th, 2010, she said, "Doris, I want to walk across the country with you, but I cannot. But Doris, will you walk with me in white across Afghanistan?" There will be peace on earth when we, especially women, replace our wishbone with our backbone. And we stand for peace. Let us consider that today. I invite you.
So we invite you all to read with us, to read this pledge. Peace Walkers' urgent call for global action and personal pledge. There is no way to peace. Peace is the way. A.J. Muste, 1885-1967. We, the undersigned, as persons of spiritual conviction, hereby declare to all world leaders and international citizens of goodwill and conscience that all wars are categorically unjustifiable and obsolete, destroying lives, shattering the collective human psyche, and immorally and recklessly squandering so much of the world's common wealth. We further declare the following propositions as imperatives that we can and must embrace for the good of all humanity at this time of unprecedented global challenge, namely that 1. Peace is a powerful choice. It is a personal pledge. I take the vow of peace in my thoughts, my speech, and my actions. Whenever conflict arises, I have the power to choose the way of peace and renounce violence of every kind. 2. Peace is transformative. When faced with a choice between love and fear, peace chooses love. This principle has practical consequences in all spheres of our lives. It is the process whereby the peaceful wayfarer becomes the peaceful wayshower. 3. Peace is liberating. Each person is born with the unalienable rights of life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. The path of peace guarantees these rights and affirms freedom of speech, freedom of worship, freedom from fear, and freedom from want, inspiring us to speak truth to power. 4. Peace is courageous. Pursuing peace is neither pacifism nor appeasement. Nonviolent resistance is a force more powerful than violence.
by declaring an end to war as categorically unjustifiable and obsolete, each of us is challenged to become a spiritual warrior in the cause of peace. 5. Peace is ethical. A global ethic of peace and justice already exists in all major faith traditions. The golden rule, simply stated, is treat others as you would have them treat you. When this rule is practiced and applied, it yields. 6. Peace is holistic. It acknowledges that no person is an island entire and sufficient unto oneself. We are interdependent upon one another. Therefore, what hurts one hurts all, and what benefits one benefits all. 7. Peace is natural. There is nothing more orderly, more lovely, or more mysterious than the natural law of the universe. For out of the pool of silent harmony and light flows unlimited peace, creativity, and abundance of which we are a part, and a child of the Mother Earth who nurtures us all. 8. Peace is prayerful. We each become an instrument of peace by connecting with a greater universal authority, called by many names or no name. Meditation and prayer are communion with the all in all. Peace seeks reconciliation. It both gives and receives forgiveness. 9. Peace is unity. We are one family of mankind, one race of people, without strangers or enemies. When we perceive ourselves in this way, we build a culture of peace based upon good and beneficial interactions on all levels of human endeavor. 10. Peace is diversity. Peace is unbiased. It abides equally with all, in all, and as all, honoring all paths and origins. Just as the ocean respects all rivers, so peace welcomes us all. 11. Peace is practical. Peace requires wise stewardship of the planet's precious resources for ecologically sustainable uses in shared humanitarian causes. 12. Peace is achievable. The desire for peace will bring peace and the beginning of endless possibilities. The seed of peace dwells within us all, awaiting the birth of a new paradigm that transforms violence by nurturing loving kindness. 13. Peace is the sacred trust. It is not for ourselves alone that we pursue peace, but as an essential legacy unto all generations. Our planet cries out for a livable future with each of us serving as responsible co-creators. Our children deserve no less. Therefore, I, on this 22nd day of September 2013, hereby pledge to walk in peace and count myself among the men and women of the generation to whom the change is given to build in time a world of peace. Thank you, Jahan, for making this possible.
Muslim Public Affairs Council and PAC. Come forward, please. Sarah, Spiritual and Religious Alliance for Hope. Sarah.
You made it.
Sikh Dharma of Los Angeles. Agape Peace Ministry. World Interfaith Harmony Film Festival. Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, and Jews on First.
The word religion is derived from the Latin religio, re again, and ligare connect. To be exact, to reconnect. Seen in this light, we can say that the aim of religion is to reconnect us back into the awareness of unity, to reconnect us to the one, and to reconnect us to all of humanity and human life. The Sikh scriptures say, "No one is my enemy and no one is a stranger. I get along with everyone." Our role as religious leaders and spiritual people of faith is to see that there is only one Creator, and to help reconnect people with this divine understanding of unity. When we do so, we can heal the brokenness of humanity that keeps us divided. Cicero said, "The religious community is essential, for alone our vision is too narrow to see all that must be seen. Together, our vision widens and strength is renewed." May we let go of this self-imposed illusion of separation. Let us recognize that we are one with God and this creation. God created all people, which means that we are all brothers and sisters. We all vibrate to the same universal heartbeat, which unite us with the divine. The Sikh scripture says, "Of all places, the most sublime place, O Nanak, is that heart in which the name of the Lord abides." The Lord is always there. The more we come from our heart, the more the magnetic field that emanates from our heart positively affects our environment, including all people that we encounter. The natives and Aborigines understood something that our modern world has lost a very long time ago. And this is cooperation, being a commune, being a global community. It is said that we are actually born to live as a community. It is in our DNA. We are one humanity, and we need a global ethic. A global ethic bringing forth peace among all nations and all people. Wars need to be obsolete. We need to find a way to stop cruelty that is so prevalent in this world. The Sikh scriptures say again, "One who eradicates cruelty from within his own mind looks upon the entire world as his friend." There is no empty space between us. There is no separation. We actually live in a common field, a field that can be felt all the way across the world, an interconnected field that we need to acknowledge. We need to acknowledge this now. I deeply pray that peace and love can always be felt in our hearts and throughout this world, and that we truly learn how to serve one another. Peace, love, and light to all. Satnam.
Thank you so much, Sandra. So, on behalf of Agape International Spiritual Center, under the direction of our founder and spiritual director and Agape's Peace Ministry, peace and blessings. And in keeping with what Simran Kaur has so beautifully expressed about the heart, I'd like to bring forth a moment of spiritual technology known as heart math. It's very simple. If we would simply take our hand, our right hand, and place it over our heart. And just for a moment, allow the feeling of an unconditional loving presence to rise up and well up within us. Remembering the breath requires no effort on our part. It's always here. It's available. And as we breathe, we notice that we're not taking the breath of another person, and that there's plenty of oxygen. And the breath never happens in the past, it never happens in the future. It always happens in the present moment. The same is true of peace. It is an activity of the awareness of the dynamic of harmonizing good that is prevalent in the universe, and we can call it by many names. But as long as we have our attention on peace, and that this is our practice, that we will have peace in our own lifetime. You may release your hand if you like, or you may leave it there. Another aspect of this, I'd like to bring in science to the conversation in continuing with the theme of heart math. We as human beings have realized through our scientific structures and revelations of the DNA code that was recently discovered, which of course we already know, but science has demonstrated it for us, that we are 99.995% genetically identical in our DNA, which means that only 0.5% of us creates our individuality and our distinction. And we know, as an evolutionary impulse, that it is basically for our survival. It's our genetic predisposition to be light or dark or tall or thin or condensed and it's really to have a body mass that is relevant with our environment in the south or in the north, to sustain heat in our bodies or to release it. I want to propose that religions have the same type of information. Thank you so much.
Hi, I'm Renee De Palma. I am the founder and director of the World Interfaith Harmony Film Festival. And I would like to ask you to stand if any of you have ever had an experience in your lifetime where you felt like anyone has done anything to harm you, verbally or through an action, anything to harm you. I'd like you to stand. If you feel like a family member might have done something by mistake, hurtfully, to cause you some sort of harm or pain, please stand. If in business you've ever experienced anything where you felt like by mistake or with intention or just because of the way the economy is or the way business is or the way corporations are run, that you have been harmed in some way, please stand. Just stay standing. I also would like to ask you, in your experience from birth to now, if there's ever been a time that you've harmed anyone else intentionally or unintentionally with bad speech, ill words, a mistake, something you didn't mean to do, something maybe you meant to do, please stay standing. I'd like you to look around at each other now, just for a minute. Just really look at each other for a moment. And I want to ask this question: how are we going to build a culture of peace with this? And the answer is through compassion. The answer is through understanding. The answer is through understanding that we're all in the same boat together. We've all experienced suffering. We've all accidentally, intentionally, or unintentionally harmed one another. And we all are also seeking a world of peace. Go ahead and have a seat. So we ask ourselves then, what do we do when we're trying to build a culture of peace? Knowing this in our hearts. And the answers that came to us when we created this film festival is by listening to one another, by understanding one another, by listening to each other's stories. And so when a committee and I sat around and decided what are we going to do to contribute to building a culture of peace, we thought listening to one another's stories is one contribution we can make to the interfaith community to build a culture of peace. So we created the World Interfaith Harmony Film Festival. And we asked filmmakers from the United States and all around the world to contribute their stories of spirituality, social justice, peace, environmental harmony, to come so that we can come together and learn. And we asked our communities to come together and have panel discussions and listen to each other and watch films and share with one another so that we can learn from one another. So with that, I want to introduce you to the World Interfaith Harmony Film Festival and let you know it exists in February of each year. And we had our first annual event last year, and we're just about to launch our second annual event this year. So I'm just wanting to bring your awareness about that. It's supposed to be a community event, and you'll hear much more about it. We need venues, we need sponsors, we need ideas, we need films, and we would very much love to hear from you in order to help you participate in the World Interfaith Harmony Film Festival. Thank you very much.
Thank you. On behalf of the more than 400 Sarah sisters locally and around the world, we'd like to express our deepest and our highest condolences and blessings to Mrs. Safai and the entire Stanizai family. And we wish you comfort and peace at this time and through this time. The Women's Interfaith Organization, Sarah, was developed after the events of 9/11. After 9/11, I didn't know any Muslim people. Not by design, I just realized I didn't know any Muslim people. And as a Jew, I knew it was my responsibility to reach out to the marginalized. And so I found some dialogue sessions going on, and I couldn't help but notice that the men and the women were dialoguing differently. We had different paths of conversation, different language, different focuses. And so I wanted to extract the women from that group and have our own conversation. And I had about 12 women in my living room. And before we got halfway around the room with introductions, sparks started to fly, magic started to happen, and Sarah was created, and we got out of her way. Since then, we've been community builders, primarily in Orange County, Los Angeles, and now with our Compassion California initiative, which is our initiative that I spoke of earlier, all of California and the world. We also know as women it's our biological innate behavior to create life, to sustain life, to protect life, our community, our children, and the next 7 generations. And so by coming together as women of community, doing what we do, we've done panel discussions, we have educational opportunities, we do community dialogues and have monthly dialogue meetings in each other's homes. But what really makes a difference to our work is when we go out to the community, where we go to where the fear exists in the community. Fear isn't really so much in the rooms that we're already at, because people who are there are already there. We're already halfway to peace, if not already at peace. How do we reach the greater community? And our answer was community service. So we created the Countywide Weekend of Community Service, which last year we changed to the Countywide Weekend of Compassion, because we wanted to play in the compassion games, survival of the kindest, which was actually started when the mayor of Louisville, a compassionate city, said out loud and very publicly that they were the most compassionate city in the world until proven otherwise. And the people of Seattle, the first city of compassion, said, okay, it's on. And they created the compassion games, survival of the kindest, because Darwin never said that survival is for the fittest. What Darwin said was compassion is for the most adaptable and compassionate. And so I'm going to end right now, Doris, with a prayer. And this is a prayer by Dr. Martin Luther King regarding the concept of co-opetition, competing to cooperate, which is what our games are all about. Keep feeling the need to be first, but I want you to be first in love. I want you to be first in moral excellence. I want you to be first in generosity. Dr. Martin Luther King, thank
you. I'm Steve Gilliland with the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, and I'd like to share with you a couple of quotes from a Mormon prophet, Spencer W. Kimball, President of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. First, by the way of general observation, we repeat our warnings against the terrifying arm races race in which nations of the earth are presently engaged. We deplore the particular building of vast arsenals of nuclear weaponry. We're advised that there's already enough such weaponry to destroy in large measure our civilization, with consequent suffering and misery of incalculable extent. The people that justify this arms race state that it is strictly defensive in concept, and that the chances are extremely remote that it will ever be actually employed. However, history indicates that men have seldom created armaments that eventually were not put to use. And in a statement that he made titled, "The False Gods We Worship," we are a warlike people, easily distracted from our assignment of preparing for the coming of the Lord. When enemies rise up, we commit vast resources to the fabrication of gods of stone and steel, ships, planes, missiles, fortifications, and depend on them for protection and deliverance. When threatened, we become anti-enemy instead of pro-kingdom of God. We train a man in the art of war and call him a patriot. Thus, in the manner of Satan's counterfeit of true patriotism, perverting the Savior's teaching, love your enemies, bless them that curse you, do good to them that hate you, and pray for them which despitefully use you and persecute you, that ye may be the children of your Father which is in heaven. Unquote. This is me now. We are the most powerful nation on earth. Does this give us peace? We train our young men in the art of war and they come home psychologically and spiritually damaged. The one tragedy of war is that people die. Another tragedy is that people kill, and they come home morally injured. Every 65 minutes, a United States veteran commits suicide. 22 suicides every day, and the rate is increasing. Do we have peace in our communities? Every year in the United States, an average of more than 100,000 people are shot. Every day, an average of 289 people are shot. Yet people around us say that if everyone had guns, there would be less violence. This is a lie. There is no security in guns and weapons. The only security is living by the principles taught by all the prophets of God from Adam to Muhammad, and by all the spiritual leaders in modern times, such as Spencer W. Kimball, Martin Luther King, and many others. The only way to peace and security is by following the two great commandments, to love God and to love our neighbor. Let there be peace on earth, and let it begin with me.
You know, Muslims always start with, in the name of God, the most gracious, most merciful. And I think that's a reminder that we seek that mercy and forgiveness from God because He is the source of that mercy. And one of the verses that was shown on the screen was praying to God to shower us with His mercy. And so I think that is a reminder for all of us today that if we are really going to seek peace, we have to change within ourselves first. And religions have to change, not change what they are about, because all of us are different. There's nothing wrong with being different in terms of our religious views, religious perspectives, religious beliefs. But what has to change is to go from an orientation of religious dogma to one of religious ethics. What makes religion great is that it establishes equity among all people. Without equity, religion becomes exploitation. And it becomes a series of rituals that have no meaning whatsoever. And also, when we read in the Quran, God invites you to the abode of peace. It is an invitation from the All-Merciful, and He's asking us to respond to the invitation. When you get an invitation, you have to respond. Yes, I want to come to your home of peace, or no, I'm fine without it. And what we see too often today is that the first racist in the creation, Satan, is whispering to all human beings. Because human beings have that ego and that tendency to say, I am better than you because I am made of this and you are made of that. Satan said, I am better than Adam because I am made of fire and he is made of clay. So we hear that to this day. I am white and I am better than you. I am this religion and I am better than you. So religious supremacy is one of the challenges that faces all of us. And we read in the Quran again, God created you from a single pair into different nations and tribes so that you may learn from one another, and that learning from one another is that compassion. So we may learn to forgive one another and to be part of one human family. That is the essence of religion, and the sooner we can change towards religious ethics and that oneness of humanity and forgiveness for one another, then the sooner we can live in God's abode of peace. Thank you.
Okay, we have a poetic dedication from Matt Sedillo.
I was actually asked by Luis, who was actually asked by a good friend here, to come do this, and I got here a little earlier than asked, and I'm really glad that I did, because I got an opportunity to see so much about this great woman that you're honoring today, who I only met once in passing, but to have seen so much testament and seeing how much of her spirit is here with us all, it was really, really a blessing for me, in a fantastic way to spend this day and spend this time with all of you. And so I offer my condolences to everyone who was family to her, both in blood and just in the relationships that we develop. So I'm for that. I feel a little out of place because I'm doing original work here, but okay. So this poem, it seemed like appropriate for everything I've been hearing. I've been hearing a lot today about social justice, and as well as about this cry for peace. And I think those two things are very interrelated. And I've heard this general call, and this is kind of a little more about specific kind of stuff that's going on in our world. So this is kind of large picture, and then we do know, I guess, that's a little more about what's going on here in America. All right, here we go. It's called Sand and Pebble. The universe is expanding into the infinite. And in such, our galaxy is no more than a handful of sand and pebble, released to the dust by a fist no larger than that of an infant. And in such, our planet, our Mother Earth, is but a grain of sea salt. But we, living here together, have etched something horrendous, something horrific, something called history upon a speck of dust gathering upon an ever-expanding shelf. My God, what have we done with ourselves? More accurately, what have some of us done to the rest of us? From the belly of the beast, from the lynch mobs of the Deep South, to the murders cops South Central, the Spanish Inquisition, to debtor prisons of Victorian England, to 90,000 homeless in Los Angeles alone, to the other side, the genocides, the pogroms, the Nakbas, My Lai massacres, shock and awe, the Spanish conquest, the Berlin Conference, the IMF, and for what? A world of haves and have-nots? More like those who have and those who have been robbed, because on this speck of dust, upon this grain of sand, there are only two kinds of people: master and slave, owner and worker, feudal lord and landless serf, the capitalist class and the wretched of the earth. We are not all in this together. They will feast while you famine, just as the Irish, more recently as Haitians, buried with centuries of forced and unnatural poverty. My God, what have they done? What has happened? The crushing of national independence, the coups, the assassinations, the CIA and Blackwater under investigation, but they're still in business. 1492, and the conquest continues. King Ferdinand's letter, the Arawaks, Middle Passages, crisscrossing their way through the Atlantic, the Gaza Strip and the World Bank. The winning of the West, oh yes, they brought victory through its histories and litanies of crimes and miseries so unspeakable. It is no small wonder they remain largely forgotten. But try to remember you are an Iroquois mother, watching as they rape and kill your daughter, your son, kicking and screaming their father, a corpse. Recuerde, no con tu mente, pero con tu corazón, that you are a migrant worker dying, crossing the border, your throat, your lips, your bones, aching for just a sip of water. Never forget that you said hood rabid, losing your mind to sensory deprivation and cultural degradation, will far-off congressmen get away with debating whether or not this is torture simply because you are Muslim, not you, not your parents. This happens. This happened. It just so happens that 30,000 children died today of starvation, and that doesn't just happen. It was born of new imperialisms, from Plymouth Rock to Tejas, from Luzon to Saigon, from Amistad to Baga. My God, what has happened? The scramble for Africa, the bloody partition of India, the open veins of Latin America, the crushing of Chinese Boxer rebellions, the severing of Congolese hands by those of the Belgians' hands, severed by hands like mine. I too breathe, so I too am witness to the crime. No, no, not I, but these hands, as American as they are Mexican, make me a human being, and you cannot segregate history in these hands like those of inquisitors and conquistadors, or those that lay buried beneath their feet that built Tenochtitlan. Like those hands, my hands, are the children of blood and misery, of centuries of this cruel game, centuries of master and slave, but hands can only ever do what the mind tells them. So on this speck of dust, upon this grain of sand, let these hands, let your hands, let our hands work towards freedom. Thank you, guys. So I have one more, right? Okay, cool. All right, so this one's a little more, I don't know, this one's called Blessed Be. It's a little more focused, a little more tight upon things that happen here in this country. I'm originally from the east side of Los Angeles, so I've seen a lot of things happen in life that maybe some other people might not have. And I believe in peace, and I believe in that, and I also believe in justice. And I believe those two things should go together. Yeah. This is called Blessed Be. Blessed. Blessed be the survivalist class. For those begging, kneeling, pleading today, shall tomorrow live free. America, you get-rich-quick scheme posing as a democracy. What will you tell them? What will you sell them? Martha's man's got problems. Veteran, returning home to the bottle, the needle, depression, and the payday loan. His drink, Mexican tequila. His game, Russian roulette. His eyelids when shut, not fit to survive civilian life, let alone provide for young family. So she carries them. 3 jobs, 4 living to a Motel 6, comes home to a child with no room to grow, to rosary beads gripped by a body tired and old, to a caged tiger with his claws in his pockets, hiding his pain, masking his rage, doing his best to keep his hands and his tears to himself. What will you tell them? What will you sell them? Some temp work for their daily bread. A Bible verse, keep their souls fed, misery, hunger, and a prayer. America, blessed. Blessed be the working stiffs. Out all day, working that extra shift because they know a child's growth cannot be postponed. Blessed. Blessed be the poor single mothers who miraculously stretch loaves of bread from birthdays to Christmas, from linens to prom dress, because they want childhood and adolescence to walk out the door. Blessed, blessed be the stay-at-home dads who are man enough to understand that in this economy, when you can't even buy a job, well, then the least you can do is the dishes. America, harsh land of bigotry, I sing of thee. What will you tell them? What will you sell them? Carlos folks cross over fearless, marching right past desert stretch, border fence, and Minutemen with nooses in their eyes and vigilante on their breath. But they won't be taking no parent-teacher conference. They speak little English, carry no papers, and don't trust placas. Will live half his life, living half a block from the local college, but the distance between him and a higher education is roughly the equivalent of out-of-state tuition in his parents' pockets. Besides all that, neighborhood boy lives in more likely attends funerals and graduations. The line of casket than be handed a degree. America, what will you tell them? What will you sell them? Work them till the day they die. Promise them a place in the sky, a home in a heaven not so cruel. America, blessed. Blessed be those street kids throwing their fingers up to the pigs who feel like got no reason to live because the future is theirs, they just don't know it yet. Blessed be the extra-legal muralists, those midnight streetlight Michelangelos who makeshift ladder and scaffold their way through urban life because the corporations inside city buildings makes no room for them. Blessed be the young and the damned, for they shall inherit nothing, shall have to fight for everything, making them the only ones who can win. Blessed be the poor, for we are coming for all of it. So listen, you robbing, stealing, lying, nickel and diming, cheating us out of every last red cent, much less than 1%, bougie. Because we are coming for you, so God can finally bless America. Thank you.
The All Path Divinity School, Interreligious Council of the Southern California, New Ground Jewish Muslim Peace Initiative, Spiritual Salons, Wallenberg Institute of Ethics.
Path's Divinity School has just recently been created as an online school answering a call to create a gateway for those wanting to build interfaith ministry. We're about to open an LA Interfaith Chaplaincy Training Center, and the founders are myself, Andre, and Deborah Van Zyl, with Zach Perlman. Last year,
just very, very mindful of last year, Jahan being on the stage herself, reading Rumi. It was just very vivid in memory. And also you kept it a secret last year. We were here at the same time last year. You kept it a secret that it was your anniversary then. And I remember sitting at the table with you and Jahan, and we were sharing poetry, and I just needed to mention that. It was very special.
All Paths will be hosting, with the Parliament of Southern California, a series on pluralism, which will be, the first one will be on the 12th of October at Or HaTorah in Culver City, and we're all invited to that. So I wanted to say a few words about peace. Let us shatter the walls of self-interest which divide us from our common interest, and celebrate the divine heart which beats within the heart of all things. I end by reading a small poem. Which is about getting beyond the surface and diving a little deeper. Burned clear down to the roots of itself, this heart sings a fullness beyond all thinking. The deep calls up from itself and beckons, a secret braille of the heart, stitching its way across the sheetrock bedrock of my wandering spirit, let loose, unbinding sight, burst free from the numbing carapace of fear. Joy detonates, burst under the breastbone, spreading its incandescent balm across all quarters of midnight skies. Lament. Star-crazed with the simplicity of stillness, body free-falling into its own singularity of joy, unending.
This is a challenge. Okay, first of all, I want to read my favorite two lines of poetry from Rumi, that I know this is in honor of Jahan and Zaman, who both are great lovers of Rumi. But, it's not working? Oh my gosh. Is this one working? Yes. Okay, thank you. So I'm going to start with two lines of poetry from Rumi, which are my favorite lines and dedicated to Jahan. Out beyond ideas of wrongdoing and right doing, there is a field. I'll meet you there. I love those two lines. Jahan was a very good friend, and I will miss her very much, and many of us know her from Peace and Interfaith. So I'm going to first say, I did put in your handout that you got at the beginning some quotes from different religions on peace as well as the golden rule. So what's interesting from a religious point of view is that all the world's religions say they support peace, and they also all say they support the golden rule, that we should treat others as we would like to be treated. So we haven't quite gotten there yet as a human species, but we're working on it. So we need to keep on the process. From peace studies, the idea of what is peace has evolved, and so also nonviolence. Peace started out to be just the absence of war and physical violence, and then in peace studies people said, well, we have to also set up international institutions to keep the peace and have a place, a forum to discuss things. And then we have to also eliminate structural violence where people suffer indirectly because the system could meet their needs and it is not. Like people are starving, but there really is enough food in the system for them. And then the fourth thing is the feminists came and said, well, we have to deal with eliminating physical and structural violence and creating social justice, not just up here in the world and our society, but in our own communities and our own families to create a foundation for peace in the world. And then another fifth part of peace was people saying we have to have intercultural, interreligious peace and bring the diversity of humanity together. And then the sixth thing is if we can have peace with each other, we need to also have peace with the earth, which is our mother and the source of all our life. So we need to also honor the earth. And last of all, we can't do all these things out in the world if we don't have inner peace and bring out to the world and radiate peace to each other. So we also, thank you, Dr. Mazurkov, we had a whole Peace Sunday here before with a whole day of peace convergence where we had 12 sectors of the peace wheel, and we brainstormed many great ideas that we will be putting in a book eventually with the follow-up Culture Peace series on the 12 sectors of the peace wheel. Can I just, okay, so Bucky Fuller also said if we want to have peace in the world, we have to convert from weaponry to livingry. Things that support life and as opposed to just production for weaponry. Can I read my last little poem real fast? Well,
yeah, go ahead.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Many times I ask myself, what will it take for war to end and peace prevail on planet Earth and in our hearts? For only love can bind our hearts, so human beings can be as one, bringing all their gifts for all to share, creativity unleashed, humanity restored.
May peace and God's blessings be upon you all. My name is Aziza Hassan, and I am so privileged and honored to be among so many friends and so many supporters and allies to working towards a better and more just place for our children. I'm a mother of inshallah to be two, which means I've been immersed with fear and immersed with how to combat that fear in a very succinct and tangible way. And so in the face of fear of caring or worrying about my children, all I can say is I now have a mandate that goes beyond anything that I had ever dedicated my life towards before, that now as a mother I have to be an active agent of change. And though I've done it for years before I became a mother, now it's an absolute and it's a mission. Yes. So now as we continue, my strongest memory of Jahan was when I first moved to Los Angeles in 2006 to start New Ground, which brings together Muslims and Jews in a really practical, sensible way to change things around them. And I remember talking to people about New Ground, and I can't tell you how many blank faces I got or downright skepticism. But when I talked to Jahan, she looked at me with so much strength, so much confidence, and so much resolve that, yeah, and how are you going to make this happen? And I just remember that confidence, and it's inspired and infused in me an additional inner confidence that I didn't necessarily know was there. And so I take her strength, and I continued throughout my career in developing and molding New Ground. And we came up with a program with me and several other people. I can't really take any credit for it, other than I was a part of it, to create a program where people come together in a very intentional 7-month process. They learn from each other, they learn about their religions, but then they take that learning and they take that dialogue and they do things in the community. Our alumni have a network of over 100 individuals who are actively doing things. Like just last month, we had our alumni trained to be facilitators, and they helped facilitate conversations about race issues in Los Angeles revolving about the Trayvon Martin concerns and issues. So our alumni are doing things and are dedicated to making a difference far beyond the relationships that they come together in the room, but to use those relationships to change things in the greater LA. And one of those very alumni is Lisa, which, can you stand? So Lisa's an amazing peacemaker who started with peace before she joined New Ground, but as part of New Ground is continuing that challenge. And so she's going to be available at the New Ground table at the end of the room to answer any questions that you may have about what it's like to be part of the New Ground experience. Thank you, Lisa. But just to end on a very last note, is that it's not just about talking about peace, it's about catering to the different demographics. So we look at adults, we look at young leaders, and we look at younger leaders. And so Sonia over here is also here to answer your questions about what we have a film competition just for high school students so that they can work within their demographic to make change and be part of inspiring the other generations to be part of building a culture of peace. Thank you.
Good evening. You are beloved of God and of your parents, of each other, of your friends. Remember, call each other beloved. And when you call each other beloved, you don't get angry. You don't get violent. You are very peaceful. Now, as a result of the work of the interfaith like you, and many, many others across the world, people have listened internationally to bring peace. As an example, we are experiencing today in Syria. What's happening in Syria is that the Barack Obama, President of the United States, Vladimir Putin, President of Russia, Ban Ki-moon, the Secretary General of the United Nations, and Bashar al-Assad, President of Syria, are conferring together peacefully, are cooperating peacefully for the first time, not with violence, not with win and lose, but trying to find equally win-win for everyone. That's what peace is. So we have an example here, and this is because of the work you have done, because of the work others like you have done, because of the work Pope Francis I has also done among religious leaders. So your interfaith work is bearing fruit throughout the world. And there are hundreds of interfaith communities in the United States. Among 20 cities, it was found there were 500 interfaith groups in the United States. So I thank you very much. You are my beloved, God's beloved, and you like peace. You give peace to yourself. Make yourself beloved of yourself. Make yourself beloved of your spouse, of your children, of your friends, of your neighbors. And you are already practicing peace. And it's affecting international leaders to practice peace. Thank you. I'm proud of you. I'm grateful to you for your loving work and achieving peace internationally for the first time. And I'm sure this trend will continue, not only internationally, but personally at home and in our communities. Thank you very much.
I am with the Royal Wallenberg Institute of Ethics as well, and I'm here with Deborah Van Zyl. And Andre Van Zyl, and we'll hold it this way.
We have a presentation for you. This is a banner of peace, Dr. Stanizai. It's a banner of peace. This wasn't designed yesterday.
This banner of peace. You've heard of banners of war? Well, this is a banner of peace. It's an ancient symbol. It's one of the world's oldest. Its 3 spheres were designed by Nicholas Roerich, the designer of the banner, as the synthesis of all arts, sciences, and faiths within the circle of culture. Whenever the banner is displayed, it recognizes the great achievements of the past, the present, and the future. It encourages the individual to strive to fulfill his or her highest potential, beautifying all aspects of life. It encourages each person to take responsibility for the evolution of the planet. It signifies the peace builder, and it symbolizes the transformation of the individual and of society. It represents cooperation, the cornerstone of an emerging planetary culture in all aspects of human activity. Nicholas Roerich was a world-renowned artist, philosopher, archaeologist, and author. He created an international treaty, the Roerich Pact, and the Banner of Peace. It provided that the banner fly over all historic monuments, over educational sites, artistic sites, places of scientific significance, sacred sites to peoples of indigenous heritage, and that these places should have special protection and respect in times of war and in times of peace. It acknowledged that cultural treasures are of lasting value to all people as the common heritage of humanity. The pact was introduced by Roerich in New York in 1929, and it earned him a nomination for a Nobel Peace Prize. On April 15th, in 1935, Franklin Roosevelt presided over ceremonies in the White House at Washington, D.C., where 21 Latin American and Caribbean nations, including the United States of America, joined the U.S. in signing this document to fly this flag all around these 21 countries to protect cultural heritage and sacred sites. As Nicholas Roerich said, positive creativeness is the foundational quality of the human spirit. Let us welcome all who, surmounting personal difficulties, propel their spirits to the task of peace building, thus ensuring a radiant future. Doctor, you've opened your house and your home and your heart to this community, past, present, and future. May it be blessed, may it be blessed, may it be blessed. Thank you.
Now we have the music and closing ceremony.
Zaman, you come like...
Someone, you go ahead and do the first one.
Mr. Wajuhat has come all the way from Orange County to pay his tribute to Jahan, and when I asked him, I talked to him last week, there was an interesting coincidence that back in my garden, I have a little garden, where I usually hum and sing songs with myself, and one of the 2 songs that I was singing, the one that you heard before on the video. The second one is, I think, very befitting this meeting in the sense that it is using the Hindu ragas of the fall season, and fall in both senses, fall as death, fall as the end of life, and fall as the season. Mixing it with the Islamic tradition of Sufi poetry from Mirza Abdul Qadir Dehlawi. And in the poetry part, the poem that is chosen is thematically very connected. If I can recite the first line, it is صفت لالازار من رفته گل از کنار من بدون نه رنگم و نه بو ای قدمت بهار من. Your departure has ravished the meadows, the tulip meadows of my life. Step in, as you are the spring, the vernal spring, as without you I neither have the hue nor the fragrance. And so this is more in a classical tone of the Indian music mixed with the Sufi poetry. Mr. Ujjwal.
Thank you. I'm honored to be here celebrating Dr. Jahan's life, and I'll try to make it a little short because this song is really long, but I'm going to try to make it a little shorter, and hope you would like it as much as I would love to perform it. Thank you.
Love show the way through the darkness, that I might see the way to thee. Light of justice, light of justice, shine on me, show the way through the darkness, that I might see the way to thee. Light of love, shine on me, show the way through the darkness, that I might see the way to thee. Light of joy, shine on me, show the way through the darkness, that I might see the way to thee. Light of compassion, shine on me, show the way through the darkness, that I might see the way to thee. Light of understanding, shine on me, show the way through the darkness, that I might see the way to thee. What was that? Forgiveness. Light of forgiveness, shine on me, show the way through the darkness, that I might see the way to thee. Comfort. Okay, comfort. Bliss. Light of bliss, shine on me, show the way through the darkness, that I might see the way to thee. Light of laughter, shine on me, show the way through the darkness, that I might see the way to thee. Light of comfort, shine on me, show the way through the darkness, that I might see the way to thee. What was that? Creativity. Light of creativity, shine on me, show the way through the darkness, that I might see the way to thee. Light of poetry, shine on me, show the way through the darkness, that I might see the way to thee. Light of music, shine on me, show the way through the darkness, that I might see the way to thee. Light of silence. Light of lights, shine on me, show the way through the darkness, that I might see the way to thee. Light of justice, shine on me, show the way through the darkness, that I might see the way to thee. Light of love, shine on me, show the way through the darkness, that I might see the way to thee. Light of joy, shine on me, show the way through the darkness, that I might see the way to thee. Light of compassion, shine on me, show the way through the darkness, that I might see the way to thee. Light of understanding, shine on me, show the way through the darkness. shine of